Good.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Sixth annual meeting. We'd like to extend a warm welcome to our new members who purchased their property here on Bald Head Island in the past year. We hope you'll enjoy learning more about Bald Head Association and how the island works. We're recording this meeting to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We'll also put all of the presentations you'll see today on our website by early next week. The first thing I'd like to do this morning is introduce my fellow board members. You may know some of them or all of them, but I wanted to recognize each of them and acknowledge the hard work they've done this year on behalf of Bald Head Association's property owners. We've spent the last year engaged in thoughtful discussions and debates, and I personally appreciate that each of them have demonstrated a willingness to make the hard decisions necessary to help sustain Bald Head Island for the foreseeable future. We have with us today myself, Christine Osborne, President, Vicki Lonker, Vice President, Paul Carey, Secretary and Treasurer, Derek Crump, Betty Robinson, and Steve Smalley. Okay. We also have the BHA staff with us today. We have Doug Jones, Executive Director, Dora Ritchie, Assistant Director, Leanne Fink, Bookkeeper, Chris Howard, ARC Coordinator, Diane Maceris is our Administrative Assistant, Pam Rainey, Member Relations Associate, Kim Bandera, Communications Manager, Madison Bowman, ARC Specialist A, and Allison Hefner, ARC Specialist B. You'll see our full staff on the screen, and I want to thank them for their dedication and service and for coming in on a Saturday, or virtually, that is today. We have a tremendously talented team of individuals who all work hard to meet high customer service standards, which we like to call member service. They are dedicated to our members and to Bald Head Island. You'll hear a lot of information today, and we can almost guarantee you'll learn something new. But our most important job today is to fill the 2 vacancies on our board of directors. So let's get started. I'm going to ask Paul Carey, BHA Secretary and Treasurer, to let us know whether we have a quorum. Paul?
Thank you, Christine. Our bylaws require a minimum of members present in person or by proxy to officially conduct business. We currently have 412 proxies in hand, representing 824 votes, more than satisfying the quorum requirement. Proxies in hand represent 25.5% member participation. So, Madam President, we have a quorum for today's meeting and election.
Hey, thank you, Paul. The minutes from January 25, 2025 annual meeting were posted on our website in advance. Unless there is a request to read them, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Okay, motion made. Membership votes to approve. Okay. Steve?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Smalley. I am the chair of the nominating committee this year, and I have the pleasure of talking about the work of the nominating committee and introducing the 2026 board candidates. The various sections, specifically 5 and 11 of the BHA bylaws, guide the process for nominating and electing board members. And in the early part of this year, we follow the same process this year, and we ask the BHA members multiple times through both the Salt and Oaks publication and through our often weekly, sometimes more often weekly Compass, our 2 main communications vehicles, to consider serving on the nominating committee. This year's nominating committee members were Mike Gandy, Ian Norton, Jordan Matthews, and Claude Poe. We're thankful to all of them for their willingness to serve on the committee, and we appreciate the time that they gave for this important job. Next slide, please. Okay. And so that work has led us to today. We have 3 candidates that were presented to the membership, and I'm pleased to introduce them: Bob Carter, Diane Matthews, and Christine Osborne. I would like to make a note of thanks to all of these candidates for their willingness to step forward and serve. As with the nominating committee and with all of our committee members, these volunteers take up a substantial amount of time to perform these tasks, and that really is the lifeblood of the Bald Head Association, to have good member support and good volunteerism. So we thank each one of them for stepping forward and their willingness to serve in this important capacity. And now, because there's an echo. And now, because we are virtual, we're doing only online balloting today. If you are interested and have not yet voted, please scan this QR code that's on your screen, and you'll be brought to the website to vote. You need your unique voting access number and then the password, which I believe is baldhead26. If you need your unique voting access number, please email Diane Maceras, as in right now. There will not be paper ballots passed around due to the virtual meeting, so the election does need to be done through the QR code, and voting needs to be done through the QR code that's on the screen here. So let's leave that up for just a moment. I would like to thank our election volunteers, which is Diane Maceras and Lori Jelinek. They were designated to assist with the in-person balloting, and we thank them for their willingness to volunteer.
Also, Steve, I'd like to point out that if anybody would like to email myself as well, Dora at Bald Head Association, I can also look up your voting election number if you need it.
Thank you, Dora.
Okay. And real quick, I guess it'd be helpful if everybody muted themselves that are not speaking. I think that's where that echo is coming from. And we'll move on. Of the 2,000 plus properties in Bald Head Island, Bald Head Association has 1,887 member properties. We have 1,223 rooftops or homes and 664 vacant lots. You've seen a great deal of construction around the island the last couple of years and evidence of the new homes that have been built. 22 of the properties were converted from lots to homes in 2025, as they've received their certificate of occupancy from the village of Bald Head Island. Next slide, please. For those who are newer to Bald Head Association, here's a brief overview of our role as defined by the Articles of Incorporation and the covenants. This slide highlights the core responsibilities of Bald Head Association at its foundation. Bald Head Association exists to help protect the character of the island and support the experience of property ownership here. We do this by overseeing architectural review and enforcement, managing and caring for common areas, and providing recreational services that bring our community together. Just as important, we focus on clear, timely communication with our members and on promoting the overall health, safety, and welfare of the island community. All right, some accomplishments of 2025. Over the past year, we focused heavily on improving operational efficiency across the organization. We've upgraded from a 20-year-old phone system to a modern VoIP platform. Hopefully I got that correct. Allowing for better call handling and responsiveness. We also implemented a more structured RFP process for service contracts, ensuring transparency, consistency, and better value. Our transition to new database software has significantly enhanced internal operations, ARC workflow, member experience, and reporting capabilities. In addition, we launched the Compass and Salt and Oaks publications, which have been extremely well received by the community. All right, improved fiscal transparency. We also made significant strides in fiscal transparency. The 2025 reserve study is now complete and reflects the current condition of our assets, giving us a much cleaner and more accurate financial picture. Using that study, we implemented a new 30-year capital reserve model, which now directly informs our budgeting decisions. We also established and met a new annual budgeting schedule with clearly defined deliverables, ensuring greater predictability, accountability, and transparency throughout the process. Okay, so a few of our accomplishments. We've also made meaningful improvements to the architectural review process. New submission cover sheets and a pipeline tracker now give staff, committee members, and applicants clear start-to-finish visibility. We've implemented regular preparation meetings with committee chairs to improve consistency and efficiency. And a last-minute call list helps address incomplete submissions before meetings whenever possible. We also published approvable paint colors and material handbooks, giving homeowners and contractors clearer guidance upfront and reducing delays in the review process. Finally, we recognize job positions to better align staff responsibilities, enhancing overall efficiency and strengthening operational support for the Architectural Review Committee. Okay, Derek?
Thank you, Christine. I'm Derek Crump, and I am a new member to the board. I was elected in 2025. I've had the pleasure of being the board liaison to the ARCB committee. I can tell you during my experience this past year with the staff and the committee, this entire process and submittal and reviews have been overhauled with a strong emphasis on assisting owners, architects, and builders at every turn in obtaining compliance with all applicable design guidelines, with the ultimate goal of reaching approval for your submittals. In essence, we have now moved to a member-friendly ARC. This slide here shows basically what the ARC does. The BHA is charged with administering and applying the architectural design guidelines through its ARC committees. This slide explains what the ARC does. The goals of this committee are to remain consistent, fair, and apply objective standards throughout our island. The ARC has jurisdiction over all construction on any portion of any property subject to the association covenants. The purpose of your ARC is to maintain the architectural standards and compliance throughout our island. The ARC ensures that any changes comply with the guidelines to help preserve the visual and structural integrity of all of our structures, to protect the members' collective investment, and to uphold BHI's aesthetic appeal. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Again, this is, let me back up one second, Kim. This slide again just shows more duties of the ARC. And to let you know, the ARC does maintain archives of paint approvals, design approvals that will help you in your submission since they've already been approved, and you can review those. All right, next slide. This slide helps illustrate that the ARC consists of two sections. We have two ARC committees, Section A and Section B. The Section A covers properties to the west of Muscadine Line, with the exception of multifamily communities, which are reviewed with Section B, and properties to the east of Muscadine. Those properties in Section B may have additional guidelines covering their unique character of their neighborhood, such as Cape Fear Station, Lighthouse Landing, and Summers Crescent. Next one. All right, this is a slide that I want to take a minute to really tell you that the work of the ARC could not be completed without the dedication of a team of volunteers and consultants, as well as the ARC staff. The folks here are the ones that committed this year to reviewing the submittals. And I want to tell you a heartfelt thanks to these folks. They have worked very, very hard, lots of hours. David Ray and Tiffany Williams have put in a lot of behind the scene hours by meeting with the staff before meetings, after meetings. There are site visits. These folks go out and look at what's being built. They look at the areas. We just can't say enough about these guys. Just to give you some idea, sometimes these meetings will last 4, 5, 6 hours, and they meet 20 times a year. So thank you to all of these volunteers, and folks who are helping out. Next slide. Okay, guys, this slide here shows all of the applications that were submitted in 2025 by category. And as you can see in their 20 meetings, these two architectural committees and the volunteers had to review 355 agenda items or 355 applications. As you can see, the number of construction submittals continues to rise over the years. And a new construction submittal consists of a draft, a preliminary, and a final review. Next slide. These are the ARC final inspections. And as you can see in 2025, there were, let me back up. When a home is under construction, a final visit must be made to make sure it's all completed and everything's been done within the guidelines. This past year, we had 13 final inspections and were able to return $105,000 in deposits to our members. Okay, next slide. This slide represents the ARC and Bald Head Islands Association's work with Middle Island and Harbor and the Harbor HOAs. They are separate HOAs. BHA has a great relationship with both of them and separate contracts with each of them to help facilitate their respective ARC review process. We work closely with these two HOAs pursuant to a contract, and we exchange our expertise and assistance. In addition to the 355 applications that you saw reviewed previously, the staff conducted an additional 34 reviews on the Middle Island and Harbor HOAs ARC. In some folks, it was a very, very busy year, as you can see. Next slide. This slide might be, I think, somewhat interesting to homeowners because I'm sure, like me and everyone else, you might want to do some trimming around your house and your lot. And you go, okay, can I cut this tree down or can I cut this limb? And what this slide represents is the significant increase in tree and vegetation activities in 2025, which shows the heightened awareness of builders and property owners on the importance of preserving trees and vegetation wherever possible. If any member wants to cut down or trim any trees or vegetation, we encourage you to contact the association for guidance. The association works closely with Pam Rainey, who has expertise in this area, and she can tell you what trees are appropriate to be removed, what limbs are appropriate to be removed, and once she says grace over it, you are free to go. Pam is very available on the island and can probably be at your location within a few hours to a day. So I think this is the old adage of ask before you cut or ask before you remove. And I think it's a great process and we're here to help. Next slide. This is covenants enforcement, which I think is encouraging. This slide represents two different categories of violations. One is for covenants that deal with construction and sites, and the other one are the covenants that deal with community-wide standards. In 2025, there were 39 covenant violations, and you can see what they were. They were for failure to schedule a final inspection for a house or construction, clear cutting a lot, trimming a tree in violation without coming to the association first and asking, could I do this? 18 violations for doing something without ARC approval and 11 miscellaneous. Now let's talk about the community-wide standards violations. The covenants, folks may not be aware, but the covenants require all owners to keep their property, and I'm going to quote, clean, neat, sightly, and attractive. In order to ensure compliance with this, inspections are necessary. In order to remove the burden of requiring members to inspect other members and their neighbors' properties, the BHA in 2025 brought this community-wide standards inspection in-house with reviews conducted by staff members using new mobile inspection technology. The island is divided into 12 manageable areas, each assigned a designated month for an annual review. The inspection map is available on BHI's website and is announced quarterly in the Compass. All observations for these inspections are made from the street or public view. In 2025, there were 36 CWS violations, as you can see from this chart. In 2026, BHI will expand the use of its inspection software and through realignment of existing staff will increase operational efficiency for these inspections. BHA is pleased to report to you that this approach has improved homeowner education, streamlined the inspection process, and significantly reduced the wait time for violations being cured. That is all I have to say. I hope you guys are pleased with the way we are making improvements at the BHA, and your ARC committees are doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek. Okay. While our election volunteers are counting votes, the board and I are going to talk about some things BHA worked on this past year. Then we're going to hear from our other island entities about some of the work they've done over 2025 and what they may be planning on the horizon. Okay.
Thanks, Christine. Hello, everybody. I'm Vicki Lonker. I was elected to the board last year along with Derek. So I'm happy to serve as vice president and co-chair with Paul of the Finance Committee. I want to briefly touch on the breadth of scope that your association has to support your communities and other communities within the island. So we manage all aspects of the communities of Keeper's Landing, Surfman's Walk, and Sumner's Crest, and we provide additional assistance to 6 other neighborhoods that are noted here. We also maintain 7 alleys that are located in the east end of the island. If you go to the next slide, just to give you a better visual, we have a significant amount of common areas that we support, and within those common areas are things like the association center and boardwalks, and other, other signage, things like that. And all of these go into our reserve studies and our reserve funding. So Paul will talk a little bit more about those in a little bit. As you can see from this visual, it may be a little hard to see the colors, but just to give you an idea of who has what properties, the village parcels are in this orange color. The blue that you see represents the BHI and the Shoals Club properties. The Conservancy is in pink. The BHA common area is all the green you see. So this is all the property we're responsible for maintaining throughout the lifespan of that particular property, and the lifespan of those properties and the asset values of those properties is what was reviewed and adjusted and planned for financially in our 2025 reserve study. If you look at the yellow, these are the areas that BHI Limited still maintains. And then finally, Old Baldy Foundation has the red area and right up in the top there. Next slide. One of our favorite common areas is our association center. And our association center hosted 304 events in 2025. And we continue to provide free and low-cost educational and recreational activities for our members, particularly through the Education and Recreation Committee. And those are headed by Betty and her committee. And these potlucks are a wonderful community opportunity. And if you haven't had the chance to take advantage of the community potlucks that are hosted by ENR, I really encourage you to attend and meet other island owners. So with that, I'll hand it off to Steve to talk about long-range planning.
Thank you, Vicki. Took me a second to find my mute button. The Long-Range Planning Committee, as shown on the slide, really is a think tank for BHA, and we're focused on not just the current day-to-day, but also the bigger picture and what does the island look like from a trend perspective? What are the important issues, and what do we need to do to plan for and address those down the road? The Long Range Planning Committee has been heavily involved in past years in a variety of different tasks and missions. I'd like to thank our committee members and the committee chair, Christina Kress, this year. It has not been a terribly active committee during the past year, but I think that's going to change in 2026. I think that we can all agree that the most important issue in terms of long-range planning to all of our members is the ferry system. The ferry really is the lifeblood of the island. During 2024 and 2025, we worked closely and collaboratively with other island entities, including the BHI clubs and the village, both on the schedule change issues, including intervening properly and efficiently and at cost effectively with the State of North Carolina Utilities Commission as the schedule change proposal and the schedule change that we now have as our current schedule and was a significant change from 2024 was implemented over the past year. There was a minor schedule change in 2025, and we also worked collaboratively and in cooperation with the island entities and with BHI Transportation, and it was done smoothly. We're going to continue to monitor the changes to the ferry system, and especially as it transitions to new ownership this year. Again, our goal is to do so collaboratively and with open communication with the members and in cooperation with the island entities and in coordination with Bald Head Island Transportation. So we appreciate that partnership that we've built, the lines of communications that we've been able to establish, and the continued coordination. We are, as with all committees, seeking volunteers for 2026, and we appreciate anyone's willingness to serve. Thank you. I think we're over to Betty.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Betty Robinson, and I've been on the board for 2 years now, going into my third year, and I'm going to be talking to you about our community outreach and connections. I'm really excited to share with you some of our new publications, which I absolutely hope all of you have read, and if you want to give us feedback, please do. As you can see here, Salt and Oaks is the new publication that replaces the Island Report. And we did a survey of you as well as the organizations on the island and our advertisers and made a decision with Doug Jones, our new executive director, and Kim Bandera, our communications manager, to undertake a new design and a new publication schedule. So Salt and Oaks comes out every other month, excuse me. And we are grateful to our island photographers who have provided the most magnificent photography for our covers. Each of these is done by a resident. We are blessed to have wonderful photographers on the island. Please keep that coming. It really is a pleasure to be able to demonstrate and show their wonderful work. This particular publication, Salt and Oaks, is a longer view of what's happening on the island. We highlight businesses, we highlight some of our residents. Certainly, if you have any ideas for articles that you'd like to see, send them along, send your ideas in. I hope everyone is truly enjoying this redesign. The next publication that we have changed, next slide, is the Compass. And as you can see, we have an adorable new logo. And the Compass is more of our in-the-moment publication and what's happening on the island. What is so impressive about our ability to communicate with our islanders is that our open rate is about 76%. It is standard that an HOA has an open rate between 35 and 40%. So it is obvious to us that you really are appreciating and reading what we're publishing. And once again, if there's something that you would like to hear about, we are open to that, and we want to provide you with the information that you're interested in. Don't forget that we also have a website, and as you can see there, we've got 2,600 people communicating with us and looking at the website. So that is fabulous. Keep it up, and anything you want to hear about, just let us know. The next slide is a recognition of the wonderful video that is being played at our ferry terminal at Deep Point. I want to say that this was a partnership with Limited, and Christine, I have to give you kudos. It was really her work with Chad Paul that put together a video that gives our visitors and our residents an opportunity to know what's happening. Not only does it give an introduction to the island, it gives safety tips. We have a tremendous amount of visitors on the island every year, as all of you know. And this is a wonderful way for them to spend some time while they're waiting for the ferry and get to know how the island functions. Next, we have a new homeowners packet. I shouldn't say it is a new packet, but we have a packet for our new homeowners. That's what I should have said. We want to make sure that everyone who is coming to the island and becoming a property owner has the opportunity to get familiar with the island and get familiar with the association. Diane Maceris in our office puts these together. As you can see, we sent out 103 this new year. So this is a way for people to get familiar with how we operate, how the BHA serves them, and things that they want to know as they become new property owners. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the Education and Recreation Committee. I am all about community, and this is a resident-facing committee that really tries to provide you opportunities to interact with one another. As you just heard earlier, we do potlucks. We really provide opportunities for the residents and their families and visitors to interact on the island and enjoy the beauty that we have here. For the residents, we have potluck suppers during the fall and in the winter months. We also really do enjoy putting on things like the Easter egg hunt. At Christmas time, we have Santa Paws, and we participate in the tree lighting. All throughout the year, you will find that there are things going on that you, your families, and your guests can enjoy. This is the committee, and I want to say we are a hands-on committee. We are doing something every month. We are always looking for volunteers, and we appreciate any of you who can give a couple hours a month to help us put on these activities. I also want to recognize again Kim Bandera, who is our staff liaison. She's the individual who provides all of the communication and advertisement and marketing for these activities. So thank you very much to our members. And once again, if you have an interest, we're willing to put you to work. If you go to the next slide, here are just some pictures of some of the things that we do. We do trick-or-treating. We did a concert in the park. Of course, we do an Easter egg hunt with the bunny and many, many more things. If you look on the website or you look on the BHA calendar, you're going to find what's coming up in the future months. The next committee I want to talk about is resource conservation and beautification. These individuals have been in place for a number of years, and they are looking for opportunities to keep our island beautiful and to conserve our assets here on the island. You will recognize them occasionally out there with litter sweeps. The biggest project they've taken on is Operation Reforest, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we've had wonderful success with several of our members who have worked with the garden club and put together a pollinator garden, which is out in Marina Park. It's beautiful. Go out and enjoy it. It is flourishing, and we are looking forward to more people getting out there to see it. Operation Reforest is something that was started after Florence, and it was an opportunity for us to plant some trees along the island when we lost so many of them during the hurricane. It's also an opportunity for our residents to participate in planting honor trees for those individuals that they would like to honor. If you'd like to see a map of where those trees are and who we're honoring, you can find it on our website. And I think that's it. Thank you.
My name is Paul Carey. I've been on the board for 3 years and served as the treasurer the last 2 years. I want to briefly review the general financial condition of the association and remind everyone that our board meetings are monthly, and available after that on YouTube, where we discuss the financial results of every month in some amount of detail. So if you want to keep up through the year, please attend a board meeting. And if you have any other questions, feel free to, I was going to say feel free to email me, but I'm leaving the board. So email Doug and he will pass it on to the appropriate people on the board if necessary. Most important thing when looking at a homeowners association from a financial perspective is whether the dues are sufficient to fund the entity's operations and whether they are collecting sufficient funds to repair and replace the association's physical assets. I can confidently say today that both are true, that the association is in good financial shape. The Finance Committee did a great job in 2025 ensuring the association's financial stability. We did this providing guidance and counsel and management on several areas. This is by far the best, most committed finance group I've seen in my few years on the board, and I want to thank them. Not only the committee, but also Vicky as my co-chair. She kept me on task. Briefly, I'll go over our accomplishments for the year. We led by the management team updated our reserve study. The reserve study review all physical assets the association owns, assesses their condition and expected life, and estimates their replacement costs. This detailed model allows us to have a 30-year capital reserve planning model, which we can collect dues to have cash to pay for the repair and replacement of the assets without a special assessment of our members. Many members may not realize that we own and manage over $2 million in physical assets, and that's the replacement value. They are fairly well reserved. Also in 2025, we reviewed the BHA's financial policies, worked with management to develop a 2026 budget. And when I mean management, I mean everybody on the team was involved in developing that budget, and reviewed financial performance monthly with the management team. Additionally, we received a clean audit from our certified public accountant for 2024, which I think is a good reflection on every year to have an outsider come in and see how clean our books are. Next slide, please. I'll briefly go through the revenues and expenses. This slide just shows our revenues are going to be up about 5% this year. Most of that from dues, obviously, the 4% dues increase. And about three-quarters of our revenues come from dues. About 17% come from architectural review fees, and then advertisements and renting amenities, meaning the centers. Next slide. Our expenses are going to be up 7.2%. We had a little extra cash, so we did not have to pass all these cost increases on in dues. But the important thing to note, in 2025 and into the first part of 26, there have been a lot of changes in the operations of the association to improve member service and satisfaction, while we closely watch what the dues are. I believe in 2026, we'll begin to see the realization of having implemented a new enterprise system. It will improve the ability to provide property owners a higher level of service that will eventually allow the BHA to manage administrative costs. You will see our staff deliver high levels of service with greater efficiency as we fully implement the system. I think Doug and his team bringing in the new enterprise system, which they're still in the midst of implementing and using throughout the operation, will have the double whammy of better service and better and more manageable costs. Next slide, please. I mentioned the assets we own. Just to let you know, we have about $2.8 million of assets that replacement cost. And that's the Association Center. It may be hard to believe. We own a lot of boardwalks and infrastructure around the island, such as the Wildlife Overlook, and then other items. So that's about $2.8 million. Over the years, we collect money for reserves, then repair or replace those things with those reserves. We have $1.1 million in the bank that will be used over time to repair and replace. This year, we're going to add about 34,000 to that fund. And we used the reserve study that we brought in a consultant. We looked at all these assets, did a 30-year estimate of when they need to be replaced and a 30-year planning model so we can collect money over the years and not have to come out with a special assessment if one year we run out of cash because of uh, a repair or replacement. We are in pretty good shape in that area, and probably over time we may need to increase our funding a bit, but that will be a detailed plan developed by management and the board. One final thing I'd like to say is my last meeting. Christine and I were elected 3 years ago, and there's been a tremendous amount of change that maybe everyone doesn't see in the association. First of all, I want to thank the staff. They've been incredible. They're the ones who had to really deal with a lot of the issues as management was replaced and new policies and procedures were brought in. They've been great. And finally, even though this isn't a finance thing, I want to thank Christine. No matter what we've done at a board meeting, outside of a board meeting related to the association, there was one theme. Every conversation was what is best for the members. She's been tireless. She's worked incredibly hard, and she cares about this island and this organization more than anyone I've seen in my 25 years here. So I hope we all recognize that, and I want to thank her publicly. That's it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. It has been a true honor to serve with you and honestly every board member. And right now I want to just let you all know that one board member who is so especially missed, his wife, Judy, and Joe left the island. And when they left this island, it wasn't the same. And the reason being is that Joe is involved, and Judy, in so many different aspects of this island. And with good reason. He knew this island. He had been here for a long time. He liked to keep things quiet. And I don't think many people are aware of just how much he was involved in. So with Judy and the help of Dora digging into what they could find, we learned that after his retirement, Joe and Judy Bronner moved to Bald Head Island, North Carolina, where Joe became deeply involved in numerous island community organizations, including the Bald Head Island Club, the Village of Bald Head Island, Public Safety, the Bald Head Island Conservancy, and the Homeowners Association, which was the last entity that he was involved with, along with Paul and I, and Steve for a while, and I believe Betty. During this time, he found great joy in pursuing his passions for golf, gardening, and fishing, as well as in building lasting friendships within the community. In recognition of their many years of service and meaningful contributions to Bald Head Island, Joe and Judy were presented with a proclamation signed by Mayor Peter Quinn, Alan Briggs, president of the Bald Head Island Association at the time, John Cathcart, president of the Bald Head Island Conservancy Board, which was signed by Chris Shank on his behalf, Debbie Ward, president of the Bald Head Island Chapel Board, and Slaughter Fitzhugh, who was the president of the Bald Head Island Club. These boards honored the Bronners as good, loyal, and faithful citizens and expressed deep gratitude for their leadership and dedicated service to the Bald Head Island community. Joe is deeply missed, as is Judy leaving the island has been tough for a lot of us as well. But they're close to their children, and And that was more important for them at that time. So what we've done is we've got this plaque, and it's adjoined by a live oak, and it's across from the association building. And one thing everyone can do is go onto our website. There's an area where you can click on the different trees to see where on the island they are. This one is easy to find, and anyone can go view it in person. So again, we're so thankful for Joe Bronner, and I know that he was kind of a mentor for me, and when Joe talked, I listened. So thank you for letting me take the time just to let you all know that we miss Joe, and we were thankful for all of his service. Okay, next.
Thank you, Christine. I think this is an appropriate time to, talk about volunteerism because, as Christine explained so well, Joe epitomized that spirit, and all of our committee volunteers do the same. So if you've ever wanted to participate in the association or were curious about finance and where the money goes and how it works, or how to build more community through education and recreation, or you really wanted to be a part of the architectural review process in a significant way, we would love to have volunteers step forward. You never know when someone may need to move, or things change and they can't finish out a term. So we will be working during our board retreat on finalizing our 2026 committee assignments. And we love to have folks 100% enroll, but also some standby folks in the event that we need help as the year progresses. We rely on more than 70 volunteers, and we are truly grateful for their time, their service, their dedication to this island. And we have openings, and so feel free to contact Dora directly or to submit your volunteer request through our website. And we will help you find a good fit if you're not sure where you might like to serve, and we're happy to talk to you about that. And just as a reminder, you don't have to be a full-time resident to be a volunteer. A lot of our meetings are held remotely, so there's still lots of ways to contribute and meet new people and be a part of the island resource, even if you're not here all the time. What we're going to do now is take a 10-minute intermission, and after that it'll be 10 o'clock, so we will close voting at 10 a.m. sharply. So if you have not yet voted, please plan to do that now through the link that was provided earlier. And after the intermission, we're going to hear from some other island entities and provide a short video for you about life here on Bald Head Island. So 10 minutes, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's 10 o'clock and I declare this election now closed. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Betty Robinson to talk about our partners.
Thanks, Vicki. Um, this part of the meeting is going to be devoted to our partners on the island, and I want to introduce this segment by talking to you about It Takes a Village. Many of you are familiar that in the past, on meeting weekend, there's been a celebration known as the Smith Island Social. And that really was born out of the legacy of the Mitchells and was a very special event. Last year, as well as this year, it would have been snowed out. And as we approached the year, we started to look at that event and said, you know, we've got so many new people on the island. What if we did something different? And we started to talk about the opportunity to shine a light on the organizations on our island that create the BHI experience and contribute to this thriving community, and to the volunteers who work with them and help them achieve their goals. So we have planned a celebration across the island through a collaboration with all of our organizations. And our intention is to bring to our residents an understanding of these organizations and their contributions to the island, and to celebrate all of their efforts along with all of the residents' efforts in a volunteer setting. So we anticipate creating an opportunity to experience education about the island, appreciation for the organizations and our volunteers, and create a community connection. So you're going to start to hear the phrase, it takes a village, quite frequently. Next slide. This is going to be a community-wide celebration. We have planned it for April 9th, and we are inviting all property owners. It is going to be held at the Bald Head Island Club. Membership is not a requirement. This is going to be a very special opportunity for all property owners on the island to come together, to meet the board members of the various organizations, to meet with their neighbors, and to say thank you. Because it's through these organizations and it's through your efforts as volunteers on the island that we have such a special paradise to live in, and we want to celebrate it. So you will receive an invitation at your residence, and you are welcome to come. We hope that you will participate with us as we bring the entire island together, saying thank you for the opportunity to be here. Okay, next, I think I'm going to introduce our partners. Christine?
Okay, thank you, Betty. Really looking forward to that. You've worked so hard on It Takes a Village along with your committee, and I think it's going to be really special. All right, it's now time to hear from our other island entities about the wide range of activities that enriches our island. We'll keep these presentations, please, approximately 5 minutes each. First, we invite Mayor Peter Quinn from the Village of Bald Head Island to speak. Mr. Mayor.
Good morning. Wanted to thank you all for staying engaged and supporting us as we continue working through the demands of managing the village. Sometimes we're a very complex community, and sometimes we forget that federal, state, and county have little agency in holding the village reins. We're actually just a small gang of volunteers, lucky enough to take on the responsibility of defining what this community can become. Unfortunately, we've had to reschedule our annual council retreat, but I'd like to briefly speak to its twofold purpose. Our council, professional consultants, department heads, and our colleagues at the Conservancy come together each year to review our current status and start developing strategies going forward. Beyond formulating the long-range strategic plans, we have discussions that set the groundwork for establishing the priorities driving next year's budget. I want to make sure that you know everybody is invited to come to our retreat. It's a great opportunity to find out exactly what's happening in the village. And unfortunately, it's not a participatory event for visitors. But you'll see the agenda on the village website and approximate times that the presenters will be standing up. Today, I'd like to highlight 3 issues that we're facing that shape how we prepare and protect the island. The first is safeguarding our shoreline and trying to reduce the impact of future storms. You may not realize it, a lot of people worry about their taxes, but we spend approximately $3 million a year, every year, on beach renourishment and stabilization. Beyond the current tactics, to maintain that status quo, right now we're currently working intensely with our coastal engineers and in association with the Corps of Engineers and neighboring beach communities to propose a more cost-effective and equitable revision to our current sand management plan. At the same time, we're engaged in the permitting process for a new sand barrow site, which is vast and will support our generations way into the future. In addition, we're also investigating additional approaches to erosion mitigation. The second item is the planning, scaling, and scheduling of capital expenditure. Our island is only about 3/5 built out, and we're already experiencing stress in our infrastructure, and we're all worrying about the rate and type of development that could happen. In response, over the last few years, we've engaged in multiple studies to better understand our current condition and the anticipated change. Upon completion, we'll be analyzing the stormwater infrastructure and asset inventory assessment studies that we contracted. We'll continue addressing paving conditions, developing supplemental landscape plans, land acquisition needs, and construction of public interest projects. The key to this is structuring funds to address these as ongoing long-term demands. In addition, we have already established an administrative financial review. This review occurs at the end of the third quarter after our annual audit. The review will assess our use of unappropriated fund balance. The intention is to address current opportunities that might get lost, to improve operations, reduce debt service, or invest in capital expenditures that enrich the life on the island. I want to note this isn't something we're going to do with tax increases. This is, I think, as Paul referred to it, as extra money that we found, or we just didn't spend it. Yeah. The third item is communication. Over the past 4 years, if you're new to the island, you might not realize it, but over the past 4 years, we focused intensely on adding and refining our approach to keep island stakeholders informed. This year, we'll be scheduling at least one town hall meeting and possibly small gatherings to provide islanders the chance to talk directly with Chris McCall, myself, and maybe other council members. This is unusual. We've always worried about getting information out to you, and this year we're going to really be focusing on trying to get information from you or questions and have it actually be a dialogue. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask a favor of everybody. We are volunteers. I'd like you to have gatherings, small gatherings if you could, to start preparing for these town hall meetings. I want you to be sitting around asking the same questions that we're going to be asking in our retreat. What are the core values that we share? Where do we want to go? And how does the direction that we're going actually express those values? That's what I have for today. There's one thing that, I hold our staff dear. The last 4 years, I've gotten very close with our village manager and the staff, and they're an amazing group of people. And it's not just that I feel welcomed by them. I feel that when we come in, when myself or other council members come in, they're very quick to understand exactly what we're asking and how to get there. Thank you.
Mayor, before I let you go, just real quick, Kim McIntyre, who would have been presenting next with, she's the president, Public Service Auxiliary. She's not able to make it. As you know, you have quite a bit of your staff staying here on the island during this storm, and she's feeding them, taking care of them, doing whatever she can to help them. And she put on a great meeting herself yesterday, and I didn't know if you wanted to just mention something, anything to talk about the new trucks or anything you can think of, just to let everyone know how hard Cam and her volunteers work.
I think you just said it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me do tell you there's two things I want to touch base on before we get off. Listening to your presentations, long range planning, um, the the one thing that I was talking about in terms of looking at our budget and funds and trying to identify these things as long range planning items. These are the items that I was talking about are things that go on forever. Um, and so our budget has to reflect that as long range planning. And I really look forward to this year touching base with your long range planning committee and finding where we gel and where we overlap and see if we can do this more effectively. Cam McIntyre, by the way, it's hard to do anything on this island without realizing that Cam's in the middle of it. Um, and you know, the support of public safety is unbelievable. These guys, you know, the hours they keep, the responsibility they have is immense. And the fact that we have so many village volunteers that step up and support them, led by Cam, and 90% of the times, it's just great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And I'll just add to that. Here's a picture of our new trucks. They are beautiful. And if you have not seen them, I encourage everyone to stop by and take a look. Cam is always looking for more volunteers. I am a volunteer. I'm a transportation volunteer. That means when we have a fire and these guys come from Oak Island, Southport, Leland, you name it, they need to get from point A to point B. And we have several people on the transportation team that will get them back and forth. And it's important. Also, she has the chili supper. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that. This is one of their biggest fundraisers, and numbers were down a little bit this year. They're talking about possibly changing the date. So I know that Debbie Ward, Sam Saunders, or Cam herself would be pleased if people could email them and let them know what their thoughts are. Should they change something, the date perhaps? And so she would appreciate that. And also, last but not least, they upgraded one of their old ambulances to a rehab unit. This is especially important because these firefighters that come over, they need to come out of the fire, be rehabbed, oxygen, what have you, possibly, you know, drink some Gatorade, get a little food in them. I don't think people understand how hard 10 minutes in a fire is for these guys, and they you know, needed the help, and this truck is right on spot for that. And last but not least, we have, okay, I mentioned transportation. Another one is supply. The kitchen, we have a great staff, what they're doing today, taking care of the feeding them, making sure that they have their the resources for water, ice, food, and materials for the rehab ambulance and first responders. Debbie Ward, along with Betty Robinson, kind of heads up that kitchen. They stay in the PSA kitchen and make food for the first responders. And then we have a food runner. All of the restaurants step up, and I know Jules runs the food wherever it needs to go, which I believe is just right back to public safety, and then get it to the site, because I know Cam would like me to reiterate, we just can't have everybody and anybody showing up at an active fire. It impedes the progress for the first responders. And the last slide, here are The people to contact with the PSA teams: Debbie Ward, Tiffany Williams, or Sam Saunders. You've got Cam's email there or phone number. It was a great turnout for her meeting yesterday, and I encourage everyone. It does not take a lot of time. You do not have to live here full time, but many hands make light work. So, and thank you, Mayor, for also commenting on that. And we can move on to the next slide. All right, we have Bayan Stewart. He is the COO of Bald Head Island Limited.
Good morning, everyone. Slight correction. I'm COO of Bald Head Island Transportation. Limited is a slightly different, or it is not a slightly, it's a different entity. Although transportation is owned by Limited, I am the COO, or used to be the COO of Bald Head Island Transportation. Up front, I was going to wait till the end, but since it's something I've already brought up, recently in December, I changed positions. I'm now the Vice President for Operations, and Charlie Collins is now the Chief Operating Officer for Bald Head Island Transportation. He brings a wealth of maritime experience and knowledge, and he's going to do a great job for everyone, the transportation system, and of course the island moving forward. What I want to do is just give a quick update on some of the key performance issues we've been looking at over the last few years, and particularly last year, and talk about some of the outcomes that we've seen from some of the changes. I don't have to go in depth to the changes for this audience. Obviously, you guys are very aware of what we've been doing with regard to electronic ticketing and trying to improve passenger flows and trying to increase on-time performance and other key performance indicators as we've made some changes over the last few years. First slide on-time performance. Just want to highlight that this is the highest on-time performance the ferry has experienced since 2014, and particularly considering that we're carrying 40% more passengers and 50% more baggage. That's a pretty significant increase. We were expecting to break the 90% threshold this year. Unfortunately, the dredging operations impacted that a bit. As you well know, under Admiralty law, we're required to slow down around anything that our wake might cause damage to any other marine entity or even onshore. So we do have to make that slow down while they're engaged in dredging operations, and unfortunately that's impacted mainly delays in the morning and the afternoon while we're running on the 30-minute, or excuse me, the evening while we're running on the 30-minute schedule. But I think if I could see the next slide, please, the most telling part of the on-time performance story is during the season when we have the highest number of passengers, highest number of baggage. What's interesting to see here is through the April through September timeframe, we have increased on-time performance during our peak operating period significantly. From 2023, when we first started rolling out the electronic ticketing at the midway point in June of that year, to the end of last year's season, we achieved approximately 25% increase in on-time performance. As you push to that 90% level, that's pretty significant. That means 9 in 10 departures throughout the day are leaving on time. And then I think what also is interesting is that, and we'll talk about a little bit later, but our average delays when we are behind schedule, and remember our late threshold is 5 minutes. So if we're 5 minutes behind the scheduled departure, we do count that as a late departure, and that does impact our on-time performance calculations. But we've really focused on making sure that the system is more reliable, predictable, sustainable, and more resilient when we have issues like vessels breaking down or code ones and things like that. So we are trying to make sure that, you know, when you make a plan to use the ferry for your travel, that you're more than likely, in fact, fairly likely more than not, to be leaving on time when either you make that reservation or even if you get in line as a standby passenger or general boarding passenger. Next slide will show that we've got pretty consistent over the last several years ridership. So we're carrying, in 2023, we pushed almost 800,000 passengers, but we're carrying around over 750,000 passengers a year. And that's for all departures, obviously, but that's a lot of folks that are riding the ferries. And we do our best to maximize efficiency on that passenger flow going in both directions. Sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes people don't follow their reservations. They get in line. Sometimes there's certain areas where the passenger flow pressurizes the operational schedule. But for the most part, we're moving people as efficiently as possible on what is a fairly small ferry system compared to some of the nationwide or the larger states and Washington, New York, et cetera. We're tiny compared to that, but the it is pretty amazing that our four little ferries are carrying that many passengers every year. It's a lot of work by the crews. It's a lot of work by the management, and we appreciate all the work they put into making sure as we carry each one of those passengers, we do it safely and efficiently and as professional as we can. Okay, well, one of the things that I think next slide, a lot of people are always focused on is on will we end up trying to get in the line for the ferry and will we get bumped? What this slide shows is over the last few years that as a percentage of total ridership, we will bump 1% of passengers. In other words, 99 out of 100 passengers that get in line to board that ferry for that departure will get on that ferry. Obviously, those numbers are more elevated when there's high number of people traveling. When we have folks that are not traveling on their reservation, that tends to pressurize the general boarding line, which then increases the potential for bumps. In fact, you might be interested to know that between 35 and 40% of passengers with reservations will still choose to ride either before or after their reservation. We understand that that's a necessity in the system because of the way the the passengers are traveling, travel patterns, predictability, and other folks' travel plans. But we do appreciate when folks stick to their reservation, and that makes it typically a smoother experience for everyone involved. Next slide, please. The next slide will show you one of the things we talked about in the change of the schedule was the number of canceled runs that we were experiencing under the old schedule. And as you can see, a peak of about 558 canceled runs in 2022. We had 29 canceled runs in 2025. And of note, all of those were due to either a force majeure like this weekend or medical codes where we had to turn the boat around almost to the other side of the river to come and pick up someone off the island. If based on normal operations and operational delays, no runs were canceled last year due to delays. And as I wanted to point out that the average delay, even when we are late, is 13 minutes. So yes, sometimes the boats leave more than 5 minutes late. That's a delayed run. But for the most part, we're able to keep more on schedule than we have in well over a decade at this point. Some of the things we're working on, some of the things that we've done, should be noted over the last 2.5 years, we've replaced 6 of the engines on the Patriot, Ranger, and Sanssouci with more powerful and efficient engines. Again, that's speaking to our efficiency objectives. We've implemented the employer contractor ferry reservation system, which I know is being used by several of the businesses on the island and contractors, giving them more reliability on their transportation requirements. Slight note on the next line, the bulk 40 coupon code is now available online, but there was a slight delay from when I put this presentation together. It went live on Tuesday afternoon this week. So folks can now go online and purchase the bulk 40 coupon code. They don't have to come to the window anymore. They can do it online, and it works the same as it has for the last few years. We've been investing in new tram trucks and trailers, and we've also improved our maintenance program, so there's less downtime on those trams and trailers, so we can continue to keep the tram operation operating as smooth as possible. We've also added the real-time ferry status board information displays, a DP, so folks know when the next boat is boarding and they can queue up accordingly and make sure they get on board in line and on board on time. What we're going to look forward to for this year is we've got a major interior refurbishment project on Ranger. I know you guys know some of those seats and the vinyl and the wallpaper and stuff's in pretty rough shape. What we're going to do is look at making the interior more efficient for use and for maintenance. So that's going to be essentially a pilot project that, if successful and we achieve our objectives, we'll be moving that project towards the other vessels as well. We're going to continue to recapitalize tram trucks and trailers. We brought 2 new trailers on last year. We're planning 2 new trailers this year, and we replace between 2 to 4 trucks every year just to make sure that they're operating safely and efficiently. We're going to continue to improve passenger routing in the boarding areas. I know a lot of folks get frustrated with line jumpers and things like that. We're hoping that some permanent barriers will help resolve some of those issues, and we've taken an approach to try to correct people's behavior when they're doing things that impede the smooth and fair transportation of all the passengers. We're also putting up new signage for the benches at DP and BHA terminals to help accommodate handicapped folks that may need to sit down during a wait or whatever the case may be. And that covers all the updates for this year and the key performance indicators from last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bion. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, next up, we have the Village Chapel, Rocky Roush, President of the Board of Trustees of the Chapel. Welcome, Rocky.
Thank you, Christine. It's really interesting to listen, watch, consider. Great stuff, all of you guys. Christine, thanks for Paul said it 30, 40 minutes ago. Just thank you for your investment and all of you guys, but great stuff. I'm about 1 week, I guess, into this role, although I've been involved with the board for 4 years. I like to think we have a great time. We have a great time at the chapel. We're really just excited about so much stuff that has already occurred. I'll mention these changes, a little bit of adjustments, a little bit of growth that we have experienced, and even more that we are planning on. 2025 was a really good year, especially good year, I think. We implemented some things and steps that much of what we do is unseen, just by the nature of what we do. Let me just paraphrase that too. What is it that we do? I think we're unique in that the chapel is the individual spiritual entity, if you will, out here. And we just kind of take that relatively seriously as an institution anyway, and each of us have individual contributions, but as an institution and as an entity, we really see ourselves as the entity best positioned to offer people the opportunity to consider what I would describe as biblical, historic truth. That's Old Testament and New Testament, pretty much just good old-fashioned Reformed theology, little bit of Catholicism, a lot of Protestantism in our theology and in what we offer. It's a great group of volunteers primarily, although let me address that a little bit. We hired Ken Chester, Reverend Ken Chester, this year in June as the island chaplain. That title specific or purposefully titled that so that it's not just seen as Ken's role is not just related to the chapel. He's the island chaplain. So whatever that means, whether that's somebody who's a frequent visitor to the chapel or not, we don't have membership. So it just doesn't matter. Ken's made himself available to everybody and is actively doing that on a weekly basis. He's about 30 plus hours a week. So you're going to see him around. The club has been great to welcome him. Public safety, public works have been great to welcome him. Individual homes, interested individuals have been great. He certainly has a role on Sundays, but that's just a great step for us as a chapel. We also hired more behind the scenes. Jennifer Meering, some of you or many of you know, just a wonderful addition to our organization who is responsible for, as a board liaison, keeping us communicated with, keeping us informed, doing the nuts and bolts. This is especially relevant. If you know me at all, that is not my forte. You will see me out conversing and everywhere, but boy, do I appreciate having a Jennifer Meering around who ties it all up and crosses the T's. So those are two hires that we're excited about. We set out last year, 2025, and had 5 goals, and we met every one of them. Assessment of buildings and grounds, technology, benevolence, which is giving, primarily Brunswick County, and we really increased that. Our technology increased by adding a new sound system. We have a projection system now that is relevant in our 10 o'clock service, which is a newly accomplished contemporary service that we do every week now. So not only 8:30 traditional, 10 o'clock contemporaries. We got a projection system that we love having in the chapel for that. We've also really increased our program. Our personnel, I just mentioned as an increase, but our programmatic opportunities, I think you will see have greatly increased, and you will see even more of that. What's an example of that? These are the kinds of things that you might see more of, like a second service. As a result of that, and probably some island growth and other qualifiers, we've seen. I went back 10 years. We had the highest attendance or participation rate in Sunday mornings that we've had since 2016. So we really are excited about that. We think that that will only continue to grow. Programmatic kinds of things like Summer Life, small high school program that we kicked off last year in the summertime with the club's participation. We're going to do that again this year. Enhanced club participation. It's an experience that we're offering to high school kids here on the island. We did it for 2 weeks last year. We're going to do it for 3 weeks this year. We've got Shoals Club involved. They want to be a part of it. We're excited about that kind of thing. Mortimer Men's Fellowship is a group that's been meeting for a while, but we have really seen a growth in that. We're up over 20 guys on a regular basis. Don't have to be involved in the chapel at all to be a part of that. Wonderful opportunity twice a month for guys of all ages, but the profile is usually most of us are 60 and over at a time in life when things can get real lonely or things can get really changed from what we've spent 40 years of our life doing. It's a great chance just to get together with other guys, share life. We have a great time. We do that twice a month, as I mentioned, and we've really seen an increased participation in that. That happens both live and Zoom. You'll see things like concerts, evenings of fun that we did this past fall. It was great. You're going to see us be more involved in the things that happen island wide. Some of those we will initiate, some of those we will just come alongside those that are already doing it as an attempt to just, I'll close with a New Testament image, if you will, as an attempt to just throw the net a little wider. We are not demanding that anybody be a part of us and check boxes that are, criteria based. We are who we are, and we just ask you to consider the truth that we offer, but come with whatever you've got, and we love that and we welcome that. So that's my deal. Love to chat with you at any time. I'm here. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Rocky, so much. And Ken has been a great addition for the whole island, whether you work here or live here part or full time. Ken is an amazing chaplain. Okay, so thank you, Rocky. And we are now going to welcome Gail Sanders from Project Longevity. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Christine and everybody. I'm going to try to keep this to 5 minutes as y'all are requesting, because after yesterday, I can certainly have a great appreciation for that. We did get to have our annual meeting yesterday, and it was long, but it was good, and we appreciate everybody attending. So a little bit about us. We've been in existence for about 3 years, and our mission is building community, creating solutions, and securing services. And we try to identify these needs from the community and what they're looking for, and also add that to how are these things going to get paid for. So we look at our funding as being mostly ad valorem taxes. Thus, we seek our first assistance from the village, and Chris McCall, who has been and continues to be just an absolute dream to work with. The Brunswick County, which we have also working with them, and we had yesterday the Brunswick County Sheriff's Department come over and explain to us all the services that they offer that we can take advantage of as well. And then the state of North Carolina, and lastly, private organizations such as We Help at Home, or care for people that maybe their income level is too high to use social services programs, which is not uncommon in any area on the beaches in North Carolina. So with a combination of all of these funding issues, we try to make sure that the community of Bald Head Island has all the services they need, or at least we can identify they need, to be able to live here fully, and even up to and including aging in place, which is an idea that the country is having now for people that do not necessarily want to go to continuing care retirement centers early on. So we're trying to give people the opportunity to be able to live here, whether you are 2 or 202, until you need to and feel that you need to be someplace else. In the past year, we've had our mission to continue with our on-island and off-island partners. The village, most specifically Chris, as I have mentioned, has continued to work with us to enhance the ADA guidelines, which we needed to have here that we had not had previously. Other things would be the handicap parking, which you will see, which will now start being enforced. And there's a significant fine for that if people are found to be parking in a handicap parking space when they are not supposed to be there. This island-wide issue is important. We don't think there are handicapped people here, but there are many different types of handicap scenarios that necessarily don't show themselves publicly that people are qualified for, but they do have to have their handicap placard in their cart for it to be approved or viewed by public safety. We have, as of Thursday, and we're quite excited about this, our first public handicap restrooms. And this is at Marina Park, and you can go by and you can see the sign there that hasn't been set up, and that will be very helpful for people. The village oversight with the public safety is a large part of what we're involved in trying to help people to be safe at home. This is not age related. This is, just for everybody. We have a lot of people on Bald Head that live by themselves. And so we're trying to make sure that everybody's safe and feels that they have an opportunity to get help when they need it, and in many different ways. One of the ways, the new ways, this community is through the Are You OK program, which the Sheriff's Department told us about yesterday, which will be, I'm not going to explain it here, but it will be explained ongoing by us in our newsletters and things of that nature. I want to thank the village. I want to thank the Bald Head Association, who facilitated approximately 18 gatherings for us last year within the community. David McIntyre and Taryn Williams, who are Brunswick County emergency management people who have worked with us. Also Claude at the market that puts out our e-blast. And I want to also thank the association for involving us in all the publications they put out and sponsoring us in that way. And the Bald Head Island Club and the Shoals Club have stepped up as private entities, and or I'm sure David Sawyer may tell you later, looking to enhance their facilities and arrangements to be able to provide accessible accommodations for everybody. And kudos for that, because there is some speculation or understanding that private enterprise does not have to do this, but they care for the members, and this is an important thing for them. So I would like to just thank our board and our advisors for being there. Our work is, endless. We're moving into what I like to call, you got to inspect what you expect scenario, and making sure that we are there for people who need help. And we are going to be working very closely over the next months and possibly longer with Bald Head Island Transportation to give some upgrades, as Brian mentioned a while ago, that will be available and helpful to those who need assistance with the ferry and the tram system. So with that, thank you very much. I appreciate all that the association does, and looking forward to a much longer relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And excellent meeting yesterday, filled with chock filled with great information. Thank you for that. Okay, next we are going to welcome Chris Webb. Chris Webb is from Old Baldy Foundation. Hello, Chris. Chris, are you on mute?
Hey, Christine, this is Doug. I think Travis actually did make it. I don't know if he's on mute, but we'll see if he can join here.
Travis is here and in attendance. I see him. I just asked him to unmute.
Okay.
Is it working now?
There you are, Travis. Welcome.
Can you hear me all?
I can.
Oh, goodness. I knew this would not work. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. There we go. I think it was on my end. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all? I want to thank the Bald Head Association for the opportunity to present here today. Their team, Doug, your team, and all the volunteers are especially generous in time and resources to the Old Baldy Foundation's mission, and we appreciate y'all's support. So next slide, our mission is to promote and preserve Old Baldy Lighthouse and interpret the history of Bald Head Island and the Lower Cape Fear region. So largely you can break down our mission into two parts. It is, of course, preserving the lighthouse and the historic site, but also to educate our island community about the entire island's history and the waterways around that island. Next slide, please. In 2025, about 159,000 folks engaged with Bald Head Island's history in a variety of ways. We had 24,000 on-site visitors and 131,000 digital visitors. Of those numbers, a little over 2,000 folks participated in a program. So they arrived at the lighthouse participating in an activity or an event that was beyond just seeing the exhibits and climbing the lighthouse. That could be a historic happy hour, an after dark program, luminary night, and so forth. And of those numbers, 857 of those participants were students, public school students, largely here in Brunswick County. We had 12 visiting scholars and historians. I was very proud of our lineup for the Historic Happy Hour, which is essentially our lecture series. We had 5 PhDs come to the island and many other authors and scholars. So that program really has grown substantially. The artifacts, we have 28 artifacts that were added to the collection. We also have increased our footprint in the museum shop to focus on books. We believe books are a mission-fulfilling piece of merchandise that we can offer our community. And that was extremely successful. 602 of those were sold this year. We could not fulfill our mission without our volunteers, the volunteers that step up to ensure that those public school students have a memorable field trip and that our events run smoothly and efficiently. We could not complete that mission without those volunteers who accumulated over 400 hours of service this year. And in addition, it's an updated number for you on the bottom right-hand corner. There was actually 540 island-wide historic tour participants. And that is a program, one of our staples at the Old Baldy Foundation, where you get aboard a golf cart and you take a tour of the entire island, focusing on centuries of history. Next slide, please. Here is just a snapshot of some of the pieces that were added to our collections this year. We have an all-volunteer committee that is run by, or facilitated, pardon me, with our staff member, Jake Grossman, who's our educator and collections coordinator. We're always looking for new artifacts that tell the story of Bald Head Island to be placed into the public care at the Old Baldy Foundation. So I think some of my favorites were the artwork from the Tudor family, staple here on Bald Head Island of the Generator Society. And also, if you have not checked out the blog post on the right-hand side here, we had an opportunity to sit down with Richard Hammer, who served in the U.S. Army on Bald Head Island in the 1960s, preparing for undergrowth clearing in Vietnam. I'd always known that it happened on the island. I never had seen any pictures in all these years or some documentation, and Richard was really able to fill in some blanks for us on a period of history that is not focused on as much in our collections. Next slide, please. The Lighthouse Learner Program ensures that every Brunswick County public school student receives a free field trip that is no cost to the family or the school system to Bald Head Island. It works very much in tandem with the 8th grade curriculum that the Conservancy follows. This is 4th graders, and we were able to focus on the curriculum regarding citizenship, civic engagement, understanding the historical significance of their community, and of course, the historic significance and the cultural phenomenon here in North Carolina is our lighthouses. It's very much symbolic of our state and our citizenry. So 800 students were able to climb the oldest standing lighthouse on Bald Head Island, or excuse me, in North Carolina. And a new activity was introduced where they are, you can see in that upper left-hand picture, they're down at Fort Holmes, and they're pretending that they are serving on the island during the Civil War. That could be anything from a soldier to a camp follower. There's a variety of ways that they can empathize with folks in the past and try to pretend what it must be like if they were writing home serving on Bald Head Island. Next slide, please. We had 26 events and activities in 2025, including our signature programs, such as our Historic Happy Hour series, which is largely once a month in the season. North Carolina Treasures Weekend celebrated the culture and history of surfing here in North Carolina in June. And we are very grateful for the continued partnership with the Village Chapel on Luminary Night, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's a very special evening where I think we have about 500 luminaries all across the grounds this year. And lastly, we included a scavenger hunt around Easter and also around Halloween that helps communicate to our younger patrons that the historic site encompasses more than just the lighthouse or other natural and cultural resources on our campus. So these scavenger hunts promoted the exploration of some of those other resources, and hopes to instill a deeper appreciation for the other resources beyond the lighthouse that together create the historic site that we know and love today. Next slide. Fiscally, it was another great year for the foundation. We ended in the black, and at the end of today's presentation, I'm going to talk about how we're going to use some of those reserves in 2026. I do want to note that the fiscal management and the great year that we've had is thanks to the generosity of the community and the impeccable leadership of our executive director, Chris Webb, who's on the call today, and our board of directors. Next slide, please. Planning for the future. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts at the Old Baldy Foundation in the upcoming year. And some of those changes you're going to see physically in the landscape. So I want to make sure everyone is educated on what the three big goals are for next year at the foundation. We're working with Design Dimensions. It is a company based in Zebulon, North Carolina, to create a master interpretive plan for the historic site. Thanks to the generosity of Robin and Mark Prack, we gain an additional 0.88 acres of land for the historic site that existed within the original 10-acre historic lighthouse reservation. So we want to make sure that we are being intentional, thoughtful, and proactive in understanding the historic site today, and most importantly, how we effectively and efficiently manage that site into the future. On that land that I just discussed, donated to the foundation by the Pracks, you're going to be seeing an organization called the American Veteran Archaeological Recovery. This is a nonprofit organization based out of Texas. They work with veterans to provide free workforce training in civilian archaeological careers and related trades. They will be, their leadership is coming to the island in March to create some ground penetrating radar in that recently acquired land. So please note that we're working with the village and other partners to ensure that the clearing necessary for that very important research work is done ethically and according to the standards and the laws. But we're really excited. In particular, we're hoping that there's some other cues in the landscape that show us the Revolutionary War activity on Bald Head Island. This is the 250th anniversary of the small battle that was on Bald Head Island during the Revolution. And we're really hoping that something's in the ground there that will really light up our year during this commemoration. But I just want to ensure the community knows there's a wide breadth of possibilities here. We could find nothing on that land, or we can find Blackbeard's treasure, and a lot in between there. So only time will tell, and we're very excited to work with that organization that has a very similar mission. And lastly, we're working with Beth Navarro's Historical Consulting based in Wilson to begin the conservation of some key artifacts. You're going to see some new interpretation to the rudder that has been on exhibit in the lighthouse itself. And in that picture there on the bottom center, we brought in one of the world's premier lampists that works, an expert on lenses and lighthouses named Jim Woodward. It's the older man in the green shirt there talking. In early January, performed an audit on the lens that served at Cape Fear Light Station out of the Conservancy. We have that in our collections all boxed up there. So we did an audit to see the condition of that artifact and beginning preparations to reconstruct that lens in a facility so it is on public display. We hold that in the public trust, and it's not doing anybody any good, all boxed up. Next slide, please. So I encourage you to go to oldbaldy.org to learn about how you might get involved in 2026. There are volunteer opportunities, and there's also just an endless supply of events and programs for you, your family, and your guests to enjoy the deeper, to gain a deeper appreciation for the history of Bald Head Island and foster that connection with the place that we all know and love, that's facilitated through a deep sense of place. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Travis. Great information. Okay, we are going to move on to Chris Shank, Executive Director, BHA Conservancy and SILT.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this is the second year in a row we haven't been able to do this in person, so I hope this is interesting, and I'm always happy to talk if there's any questions coming up. But I want to start with this, with our title slide, that we, and I say this every year, every time I get a chance, that we, when we put it in our mission, we discover, learn, conserve, and preserve, is intentional. That means not just the staff, not just the board, but that's everybody associated with Bald Head Island. All the entities here, all the folks online, we really appreciate everybody joining us in our cause. And the bigger that we gets, the better chance we have to keep Bald Head a special place. Next. So sea turtles. Another low year for us. You can kind of see the stars on the right-hand side in 2025. We only had 58 nests, which is kind of small. We did manage to get about 4,700 hatchlings to the sea successfully. The interesting thing is we had very few what we call neophytes or new moms. It was a lot of returning moms. Why? We don't know. We'd have to go, there's so many variables that affect it. But one cool thing was we didn't have any predation from coyotes again, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, okay? Yep, go ahead. You can just click next. I have some satellite tags. There you go. So one thing we did do, we applied satellite tags to 6 nesting moms this year, and we watched how they moved up and down the East Coast. Very interesting. They follow the coastline until they get to Hatteras, and then they diverge. Some continue to go north. Some just kind of hang out off of Hatteras. And we actually had one turtle that went all the way into Delaware Bay. And stayed there for a while. It's a very heavy industrialized area. It's a lot of shipping. But we're trying to understand how they use the wind lease areas, how they interact with shipping along the East Coast. So it's been a really interesting study. And I will tell you that as of the end of December, all 6 of these were hanging out off the Cape Fear coast. So they'd all come back into a relatively small area, which is pretty interesting. So next, just a quick take home. We're anticipating a bigger 2026 nesting season. If you look on this graph, there's lots of up and downs. And in 2019, when we had our all-time record, 2018, we also had a very low year. So we're hoping for better things in the coming year. Next. Why is predation down on our sea turtles? Well, it may have something to do with our coyotes. We get genetic samples from the scat around the island and work closely with Fort Fisher and Liz Korepka at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. And when we did this last time in 2022, 2023, we had 9 coyotes. This time we only had 6. And I don't know it's hard to see. I thought there was a better graphic there. But interesting thing is that none of the 9 that we sampled in 2022 are still here. Fort Fisher traps a handful of coyotes each year, and the one thing that I was hoping this would show was that our family 3 is actually connected with the Fort Fisher coyotes. So they do move. But our coyote population has decreased, which means we're probably having less interaction with sea turtles, and the ones that were here no longer may be teaching their pups. So next take-home message. Yeah, Fort Fisher traps, and that helps control us, and fewer coyotes means less nest predation and more fawns, which I will talk about in just a second. Next, please. Just a little indicator of alligators. We have probably about 35 to 40 alligators. Most of them are very small, and I don't want to get into the reason why most of the small ones don't make it to adult. Let's just say they manage their own population pretty well. We have 5 or 6 adults to subadults, and everybody knows we have one big giant one. But they seem to be doing pretty well. They're not growing too much in population. They're pretty stable. Next, please. The cool thing is, though, that we did have over the past 4 or 5 years, we've had a big increase in Wilson's plovers and nests. And these are primarily over near the groin area on the southwest side. That extra sand has created a lot of natural nesting area for our Wilson's plovers. And both of these are considered protected species. Next, please. There you go. So lots of baby gators around and lots of nesting plovers, which is really, really fun to see. Next, please. White-tailed deer, this is obviously a big issue on Bald Head this year. And this kind of tracks, this graph here has a deer population over the past 20, 30 years or so. And you can see there's peaks and valleys. In the old days, there used to be culls, and it would take out, 100, 150 deer, 75 deers. And then in 2014, they started the immunocontraception program that the Conservancy ran. And that tended to control the deer population for about 6 or 7 years. And in 2020, the deer population had gotten what we call, next please, you can click there'll be a line that comes in, had kind of controlled the population. So we decided that program was not really necessary because it was below the threshold of what we consider 200 deer. And so in 2020, we stopped that. But when it was also very expensive. But when we stopped it, if you look on the right where the fawns are, when that stops, all of a sudden the number of fawns increases dramatically. So you have to remember each doe can have twins and almost always has twins each year. And so the population can grow very, very quickly. So next, please. So the old population target for bald head was 200. But that was when there were far fewer homes on the island, and that was about almost 20 years ago when that number was made. And so now we have kind of a new population target of about 125 deer. And this year we measured 239, and that was why we had to have conversations with the village about managing deer. They've gone way above what we really should have on the island. So next, please. So we have a new population target, and management was just necessary for the good of the herd as well as the good of the forest. Next, please. Beach vitex, which we have been trying to knock out of Bald Head Island dunes forever. It's an invasive species. It looks nice, but it outcompetes the native dune vegetation, and it has basically no impact on controlling or keeping dunes from eroding. So we've been trying to figure out ways to get rid of beach vitex. So about 5 years ago, we started a new methodology where we would hack at the stem, paint imazapyr. We don't spray anything. We just paint the herbicide on the plant. And then over the past 5 years, we started doing something different too. We also started yanking it out. The old theory was that don't pull it out, the seeds will spread, but we have kind of blown that theory apart. And what you notice is a big decrease in the total number of plants, but a big increase in the number of dead plants. So we are making progress, and we feel like we've got a good handle on it going forward. Next, please. So there you go. New treatment method is working. Another project that we work on with our village contract is the aquifer. We want to know how big is the aquifer. Most people, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, the village pulls water out of the ground for primary residents and for visitors. And so we just want to make sure that when you pull water out of the middle, it just doesn't suck in salt water from around the edges, right? And so what we found over the last year, the aquifer volume was relatively stable. It changes depending on rainfall and a lot of other things, but it's pretty stable. The one thing that we're a little concerned about is salinity, right? We also measure salinity in the groundwater. And on the southwest corner, not too far from the club, the salinity values went up in both the superficial aquifer and the deep aquifer in 2025. Why that is, we don't know exactly. It was a little drier, so there could have been more saltiness in the river. And remember, salt water from the river doesn't just come over the land. It actually pervades through the salty soils, which allow a lot of water movement back and forth. So whether that's an indication of something a little more long-term or short-term, we're not sure yet. But it does have an indication. Next, please. Right. So we need to keep an eye on that southwest side. And next, please. And we need to do so, especially because the talk of the Cape Fear River channel deepening, right? The plan is to deepen it from 42 to 47 feet and also widen it 100 to 50 into 300 feet near Bald Head. That would be a substantial change in hydrology of the river and have big implications for our creek as well as our aquifer, right? And so Dr. Beth Darrow, who's our director of science that many of y'all know is awesome, right? She wrote a letter to the Division of Coastal Management talking about this. And so we just expressed our environmental concerns. There were some serious concerns that the previous environmental studies had not addressed at all. And so we put these in a letter. And I know the village worked with a lot of municipalities, and that was great too. Their effort was great. And so this has been put on pause by now. DCM didn't like what some of the feedback was about the lack of knowledge that they were approaching this planning with. And so for now it's paused. And but you can read that letter if you're interested to find out what some of our concerns were. Next, please. There you go. Far too many unaddressed concerns. Next. One thing we did this year, I want to highlight again, the Johnson Center for Coastal Sustainability, some of our research. We had our Johnston graduate fellows, Brittany Morris from UNCW, did a really cool project about what happens to the marsh as sea levels rise. Where does it go? How does it migrate? How might that impact the creek banks? And I think there's a lot of people that would be very interested to know that, in the next 20 or 30 years, where's the creek going to be? How much higher is it going to be? And where is it going to be? And then we just have a new one, Gabby Kruger from Georgia Tech. Is doing a really cool project looking at some indicators of health in our salt marshes. And both of those students have been great to work with. And I know Dick Johnston is very happy to see the Georgia Tech symbol there next to Gabby's name. She's a PhD student at Tech, and she's been awesome to work with. We also got a grant from Socorro, Southeast Coastal Ocean Observing Research Association, and we're establishing some sea level elevation tables in a couple of places in the marsh. One is near Bald Head Creek, and one is just up the bank from Bald Head Creek, up a little bit towards Cape Creek. It took a lot of work to get these in the ground, but we're going to have these measures to know whether it's a channel deepening or whether it's just sea level rise, how sea level is changing on Bald Head. It's going to take a little while. It takes several years to really see anything, but it's a really cool project, and we're really excited to get this started. Next, please. So we just need to keep learning more. If we're going to understand the sustainability of Bald Head, we need to know as much as we can about all aspects of the island. Next, please. So to put this on your calendars, April 7th, 2026 will be the 5th annual Johnston Coastal Sustainability Symposium. This year, the theme is Coastal Sustainability Through Stewardship. So we all have a play, not just individual people. It's entities, it's groups of people, it's community. So I think this is going to be a really exciting topic. We'll have the morning session at BHA. Again, we always appreciate them hosting, and then the evening dinner conversation at the club. We appreciate them participating too. And this year, the speaker is going to be Lindsay Addison from Audubon, who does a lot of stewardship, community-based stewardship work in the area, and she's awesome to work with. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think that's it for me.
Right. Thank you, Chris. As always, chock full of amazing information for everybody. We appreciate everything you and your team do. Okay, finally, we welcome David Sawyer from the Bald Head Island and Shoals Clubs. Hi, David.
Hello, good morning, everyone. We wanted to start off, next slide if we can. Wanted to start off by thanking Christine Osborne, the BHA board, Doug Jones, the BHA staff for their collaboration on projects, support, and true spirit of partnership to improve our community. We really feel a tremendous collaborative effort with the BHA, and that spirit is very much appreciated by the BHI Club board, the Shoals Club, and all the staff. Thank you. We want to thank Gail Sanders for her help and guidance to improve accessibility at the clubs. Gail has met with us several times, and Bob Nixon, Gail and I have come up with some priorities to improve handicap parking, handicap access panels for key entrance doors, improved ramps, and a lot of those our members will start to see in this coming season. The BHI Club, next slide, please. The BHI Club and Shoals Club had a really good year in 2025 with strong membership, captain, and with wait lists in most categories. We improved cash reserves at the clubs, and we made progress on important projects for both clubs, and we made a lot of good progress on planning and investment in master planning for the future, which we'll touch upon in just a minute. Next slide. So membership, the BHI Club has 1,320 member families. There are 350 full members with 123 currently on the wait list to upgrade to full. And we have add-on memberships with 411 and 6 on the waiting list. And when you take a look at the membership of the club, when you add members, their spouses, immediate family under age 24, there are 3,140 people that consider themselves primary members of the BHI Club. A lot of those have added extended family access to their loved ones. So there's 1,941 extended family members. So all combined, that's 5,492 members of the BHI Club. Next slide. Shoals Club membership has 647 full members, 61 lot memberships, 92 add-on memberships. So that's 800 member families at the Shoals Club, and we have 8 people on the waiting list to get memberships at Shoals. Next slide. Aquatics and recreation this past year, we had 82,000 swimmers use the pools at the BHI Club. Many of you that have been on island the past couple of months have noticed that we've installed and relocated the new playground, which just opened a few weeks ago. And we've also finished our new 3 new croquet greenswords, and they're going to be growing in the spring. We're starting to use them, but they should be fully established and ready for championship play by the summer. Next slide. Outdoor sports and recreation continues to grow at the BHI Club. Due to demand, we added a lot more programming this past year. For example, our cardio tennis clinics sell out usually a week in advance. They've all been so full that we've added additional clinics every single day. In 2026, we're going to add beginner programming for all of our sports, tennis, pickleball, and croquet. So members, their kids and grandkids can enjoy active lifestyle and quality time together on BHI. A couple quick notes on this slide. Our Croquet Association won the North Carolina Teams State Championship this past year. So we're very proud of them. And Jeff Sue, our croquet professional, was inducted into the Croquet Hall of Fame this year. We're going to be doing a lot more programming, casting a bigger net to help our 5,000 plus members of the club to be able to experience croquet, and we'll be offering a lot more instruction to be able to enjoy the outdoor sports. Next slide. Fitness center usage grew not just in high season, but all year round this past year. Due to member demand, our fitness center is now opening at 6:30 a.m. on weekdays and 7 a.m. on weekends. And we're going to be adding significant programming this season for group exercise classes and beginner programming for those that might be intimidated about starting a wellness lifestyle or a fitness workout. Next slide. Golf rounds this past year continued to grow. This was actually our second highest year in golf rounds since 2022. And member rounds make up 92% of all play on the course. So we only have 8% of rounds from guest pass holders. Clinics were up this past year. And we also had a significant increase in lesson revenues. So golf instruction, golf clinics, and golf participation continues to grow at the club. Next slide. Food and beverage revenues increased at the club last year, 3.5%. Event revenues grew 22% last year, despite the fact that the ocean room wasn't available in the second half of the year. Coffee bean bar revenues increased 15%. And we have plans in motion to improve dining reservations, access, and value for our members in 2026. I'm going to touch upon that in just a second. We want to thank the Conservancy for their summer speaker series, and we want to thank Chip Berry for organizing our Island speaker series this off-season. The past 3 have sold out with waiting lists, and our next 2 Island speaker series events are already sold out. Next slide. This past year, the BHI Club and Shoals Club were recognized as Great Place to Work. This was from an independent agency that does employee surveys. And after the employee surveys were factored in nationwide, both of the clubs were ranked in the top 25% of hospitality employers in America. So we were really excited about that. And then both clubs this past year were recognized as distinguished clubs. Bald Head Island Club received the elite status, and the Shoals Club received the exceptional status. So we were happy to see the clubs continue to grow and be recognized in our industry. Next slide. We have a lot of capital projects, and for those of you that have been on Island this winter, you're seeing them firsthand, but you're going to see a lot more activity over the next 2 months. The ocean room repair and renovation is fully underway, and that is on schedule to open in mid-March. We have some enhancements like our front doors for the clubhouse, the lobby, the palms, terraces and grill doors, and with Gail Sanders' help, we've been able to secure handicap panels, which are going to be installed in the next couple months to be able to improve access. And right now, our fitness center flooring project started yesterday and will be in progress for the next few weeks. We've developed a plan to be able to keep the fitness center open throughout the entire project. So part of the facility will remain open for strength training and for cardio workouts. We might have to interrupt group programming for a week or so, but we'll be able to complete this project by the end of February. Next slide. For those that have been on Island, you've seen that we've been doing a significant sandbag project at the Shoals Club. That is going to double the size of the sandbag revetment in front of the Shoals Club. But thanks to all of the work with the village and the beach restoration project last year, the Shoals Club beach has actually increased to over 300 feet as of last week. That's more than right after the beach renourishment was done. So we thank everyone for all of their help and support. And you can see an aerial that Chris McCall shared from the village here, where the spit at the point of the Shoals Club has grown significantly. Next slide. We're going to touch upon, we did a master plan member survey in 2025. We had done one back in 2021, and we had done one prior to that back in 2014. So we've been monitoring how the club has performed through the years with an outside agency. Next slide. Great news is overall the BHI Club, 86% of our members are either very satisfied or satisfied with the club. And this exceeds the national average for all other clubs, which has an 81% satisfaction rating. Next slide. When you take a look at all the different amenities for the clubs, from the pools and golf and fitness and restaurants, rackets and events, the BHI Club improved in every single measurable category in 2025 compared to the survey in 2021. So we're proud of the progress that the clubs are making. We thank our board and our membership for the support to be able to make this happen. Next slide. There were some concerns that came up in the member surveys. One is to increase parking at the club. Another is to improve availability of dining reservations for all of our primary members, improve the clubhouse kitchen, and develop a permanent golf shop. Another key action is to evaluate our guest pass holder programs and extended family programs and make sure that our primary members of the club have the priority access to all of the club amenities. Next slide. So the club made a lot of progress from 2021 to now, and we feel that if we can improve dining access management, improve value, we can really be positioned for not just member satisfaction, but a whole lot of improvements in what members perceive as value of the club for a strong foundation for the future. Next slide. Next slide. So right now, our Swans Quarter project, we've worked with the BHA on this over the past couple of years. We're adding 102 parking spaces, and construction of that parking lot area begins next week, weather permitting. We finished the 3 new croquet greenswards, and we finished the new playground. For the work that we're doing right now, we're trying to get the parking lots and the entrance road foundation all completed before high season. When high season kicks in, we're going to put pencils down because we're going to start gathering supplies and materials for the golf course renovation project. And then we'll pick back up on the next phase of this project into next year, which are the shade structures, the screened laydown yard, and the sidewalks and landscape to complete the Swans Quarter. Next slide. The Shoals Club property, we have an advisory board that has been meeting with Brian Mullins, our general manager, Adam Piper, our project manager, and several engineering firms and site planners to be able to figure out the best optional plan for the Shoals Club future amenity site. And that work is underway, and we'll share additional details on that as we complete the site planning efforts and we complete a master plan survey for Shoals Club. Next slide. As many of you know, the golf course rejuvenation project planning is well underway. Next slide. I'll just touch upon a few timeline that are happening. We had 93% membership support for funding of this project. That was tremendous and has made a whole lot of things possible to improve our course for the long term. Our supplies and materials start arriving this April, and they're going to continue to be delivered all the way through October. We have 9 holes of the golf course that will close on November 9th of this year, and then all 18 holes of the course will close a year from now, January 4th, 2027. We anticipate that the lion's share of the construction will be completed by June of 2027, and then grow-in of the course will last through September, and our goal is to open the course in October of 2027. Next slide. Clubs have new mobile apps. We have 1,370 member users at the BHI Club, a little over 600 at the Shoals Club. This app does improve functionality, reservations, member recognition, facilitates service, communication, gives us the ability to do text messaging and push notifications. So if you haven't uploaded it yet, please do so, and we're happy to help on your next visit to the club. Next slide. Just a final wrap up and thank you. Again, thank you to the BHA for giving us the chance to provide this update. And thanks to all the island entities. We feel that the spirit of partnership and cooperation continues to grow and improve every year. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, normally at this point in the meeting, we'd be in a room together, and it would be much easier to have some comment from the members or answer We will try to do that virtually as quickly as possible so we can wrap our meeting up. Are there any questions or comments from our membership? If you have those, please click the hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'll try to recognize you and field your question.
All right. Jeff Kenny is our first one, so I'm going to go ahead and allow him to talk.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question on It Takes an Island event. What was the date of that again?
April 9th. It's a Thursday.
Right. So my comment is a lot of people who do not live on the island will not be able to attend during the week. And this is a kind of a consistent issue across many events on the island. But if this is supposed to be an all-inclusive, you might consider pushing it to a weekend, like a Saturday.
What we tried to do in moving the date was to acknowledge that we have a number of individuals who will be here for Easter, and we have the Johnston Symposium as well as a golf outing there. So we are hoping to catch a number of people. We also were taking into consideration the club's calendar, and in moving it away from January to later in the year, we needed to make sure that we weren't in conflict with that. But we understand your concern.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I see no more raised hands, and I don't see anybody putting anything in the open Q&A section.
Okay. Thank you, Dora. If you do have questions or comments, feel free to join us at our board meeting in February, and/or send any comments or questions to Doug or Dora, and they will be directed to the board as necessary or appropriate. All right, let's move on to our election results. Before I do that, I do want to acknowledge the service of Paul and Christine, who've just completed their terms on the board. I particularly want to thank Paul for his leadership as our treasurer on the finance committee. I know I personally joined that committee because I wanted to get to know Paul better, and Paul has demonstrated a tremendous passion for transparency in our financial results and activities. He's a great person to give a reality check when it is necessary. He is a patient person who demonstrates the utmost respect when people are working with him. And I really want to thank you, Paul. You're a legend. And if we were here in person, I would have a plaque or certificate to give you. And I think there's going to be a tree planted to thank you for your service. Christine, same for you. And all I have to say there is service is your legacy. Member service to this community is your legacy. So thank you so much. Okay, I'm honored to announce that we have two newly elected board members. Christine Osborne has been elected for a second term, and Bob Carter. I also want to thank Diane Matthews for running, and I ask that the new board for next year, which would include, again, Betty and Derek and Steve and myself, remain. We're going to have a short meeting to take care of some business at the conclusion of this, and I think Dora will send out a separate Zoom link for us to join to take care of that business. Okay. You know that we would not be the same without all of our wonderful volunteers and boards and committees. So we do want to again thank everyone for their contributions this year. It really does take a village. And so I think the event Betty's working so hard on is aptly named. And I hope we have a wonderful year as we move into 2026. I want to thank all of our speakers for their time today and keeping us up to date. And I look forward to all of those entities also working with us as we continue to plan and make progress and identify areas where we can continue to work together. So if there's nothing else, I will conclude our meeting, and everybody stay safe and warm during this weather. I am right now in Cary, North Carolina, and nothing's happening. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.